it's Viola. Welcome to my channel. So today I woke up and thought, let's make some specimen cards. And what better way to do that is to get back to basics in using some junk. And what I mean by that is, we'll get those out of the way, is I brought in some trash that I would have otherwise thrown away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out my frame from this piece of trash, but now it becomes a frame. And so I am going to do a card 4.5 by 3.5. And so I'm just going to, actually I'm going to do a 4 by 3. Maybe I'll do a 4 by 2.5. Yeah. Let's go 2 1/4. 2 3/4. Okay. So as I am cutting these, I have made about 5 specimen cards today. And each one is a little different, and each one is a little easier to make each time I made them. So let's see if we can't perfect some of this. All right, so I want to leave about 3/4 of an inch on each side. And I'm not being precise in how I'm making this. I'm just kind of going by how when I'm looking at it, how big and how wide I kind of want this to be. And so for my initial cut, and this kind of is a catalyst for my other cuts. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to use my rotary cutter to go to my cuts and get them as, remotely as straight as I would like. I think part of junk journaling is definitely the process of just spending time in thinking about what you're making rather than thinking about other things, and just being able to enjoy a little bit of solitude and keeping your mind busy with an activity that you enjoy. For me, that's always been creating art. And so I think I'm just going to try and bring that cut in a little bit more and see if I can't get this little guy to just pop out. If not, that's okay. Yeah, let's see. Sometimes I've noticed the last couple times I've been able to get these to just almost pop out like die cuts. And there's always one corner that just kind of sticks. And so I'll take a look on the back and see. Okay, so I've got one. Now, I want to make sure when I cut that the sides that I'm going to be gluing are together. So then I flip it over and I draw my box onto the other side of my frame that I'm creating. There we go. Excuse me. And so I'm drawing it on the inside part of the frame so that it won't show up. But when you see how I'm going to cover these, the pencil marks wouldn't have showed up. But had I just chose, and I can with this particular box, I could just choose to use the box itself because it already has a nice, almost like coffee stain, almost. So kudos to the makers of these boxes to already kind of have a aged appearance. If I hadn't been thinking about this design, I might have just gone ahead and used these. But I had a design in mind. So I'm just going to come along and pop it out like a die cut. So we've got the makings to the beginning of our frame, which is fantastic because if I really wanted to, I could just use those as the frame. But like I said, my design was kind of to utilize a piece of coffee stained paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue my frame to my coffee stained paper. And let me just make sure that I've got it. I think I've got it the way that because I want to make sure that these pieces go together. And actually, in really thinking about this, there are two sides to the frame. And so both sides will be covered by the coffee staining paper. Okay, so I'm just going to put those back, and then I'm going to cut my frame out of my coffee stain paper. I'm just going to kind of get it started there for me. And I've put my coffee staining, I put my frame right on the edge of my paper, so I didn't have to cut that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my boxes. And that just helps me, probably because I'm almost 60 years old, to be able to see where I'm actually cutting. I don't want to cut my frame. There we go. And so that just helps me a little bit in seeing where I can cut. And we'll come in and clean that up in just a minute. I've kind of got some larger scissors. And maybe that's kind of what I was dealing with earlier, is just the fact that I have a little bit of larger scissors. So I can't get into my corners. There we go. And I'll just clean that up a little bit. It's not really cleaned up, but I already did that. So we'll just kind of keep going. And I'm just cutting my frame out, and I will be getting my windows ready in just a moment. So what I want to do, there we go. Now I could leave those, but they look kind of shabby. So I think what I'll do is I'll just come in, clean them up a little bit here. And they are not cleaning up as much as I would like, but we'll just keep going. Part of junk journaling is the process, and being able to enjoy what you're making without worrying that it has to be perfect. And as you can tell, and this is indeed part of the process, I'm struggling with thinking, oh my gosh, it just has to be perfect, when in reality it doesn't. Okay, so my frame is pretty much cut out. I have a little bit of cleaning up to do right here. There we go. And I cannot get this part cleaned up, which is fine. I should tell myself that. It's fine that it's not perfect. There we go. There we go. Okay, we've got our frame finished. This one is still kind of wonky. Let's see if we can get that just cleaned up. I should change out my scissors, and I think I'll do that for future videos. I have just gotten back in. I think you probably noticed that I haven't been making videos since 2023, I think. And I had focused on more of putting stock in my Etsy store than I did on making videos. So we are at the part where we want to create some actual windows for these, and I just want to find, I had a piece, here it is. I have a piece of transparency, and so I'm just going to cut this out, and I'm going to get, using my frame, I'm going to be able to get the windows cut out, and I'm just using the frames as kind of a basis for how I want my windows, what size I want my windows, because I want them a little bit larger than my frame, but I want to make sure that they're not sitting outside of my frame. So I'm just not really measuring. I've never been a measuring person. My husband used to be a carpenter before he went into nursing. And so when he hangs paintings or pictures or anything, he has to have it leveled. Every aspect of it has to be 100%. Even when he's measuring, he says, oh, that's 1/100th. And he's lost me at the 1. So this is Fabri-Tac, and I am using this particular glue instead of my art glitter glue because I used my art glitter glue on a couple of the frames, the specimen cards that I made prior to this, and I could actually see some of the white. They say that it dries clear, and it mostly does, but if you're on transparencies, you do see a little bit of it, which kind of surprised me. So I am using my Fabri-Tac, and I have found that I use my Fabri-Tac a lot more than I used to. I used to always just use my art glitter glue for everything, and now I find that probably for at least 85% of what I make, I use Fabri-Tac. So I've created a frame now, and I'm just going to get this little, something is sitting, there we go. So it's a little frame, and so now that I have my frame done, I am going to find what I want to put in my frame. Now, a mushroom might be a really good thing. I've got some flowers. The only thing about the flowers, I get these from Temu, and the only thing about the flowers is, for the most part, they're only printed on one side. The other side is basically the back side, and you don't really get the full, you don't get the full design. And with these, I think it is the back, but you do get a little bit more of it, the shading and things of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some Fabri-Tac right here. And I'm going to place it in where I want it in the frame. Just glue it. Just kind of hold it down there for a few seconds. That is one thing about Fabri-Tac that doesn't happen with art glitter glue, is you get a little time. You get a little time to adjust it. And I have something, there we go, it's on the outside. You do get a little few seconds to just adjust, and then you can move it, you know, you can adjust it just a little before. See, I can still move it. All right, so now we're going to put the frame together. Just going to use some of the glue, and I'm going to make sure that all parts get glued. And what I do, and it's just, I've just gotten used to it, is put something between me and the glue, and that way I don't have, you know, this piece doesn't have, it's less likely to stick to this than it is my fingers. So just kind of rub. And all right, so we've got our frame in, and we've got our specimen card. And so now what we want to do is we just want to add some embellishment to it. And I really like, I'm hoping this isn't too long, but I really like this staying, live in positivity. So we're just going to add, I have learned that in just about every video that I watch, somebody does the inking, and I've gotten so used to that sound that I almost, when I do it, I hear it, and it's almost like a a sound where you're, as a child, where you instinctively hear it as something safe. And so that's what I get from that swish, swish, swish sound. So I'm just going to come in and get some die cuts and see what kind of... I don't want to take away from my focal point, which is the mushrooms, but I want to kind of add to... Yeah, that's going to be too big. Oh, look at this little one. Oh, that's so cute. I didn't realize that was even there. I don't want to take away from my focal point, so I'm just kind of looking for smaller die cuts. Let's see. That one's almost too big. I do have... Here we go. Okay, and then I just want to add a little bit of color to this. I'm mindful that I want to stay under 30 minutes for my time frame. So let's just put this under here. I'm not so sure that I like that color. Let's just rethink that particular piece and find something that can kind of create a little bit of texture, but doesn't take away from the green on the bottom. There we go. And then I'm going to put my butterfly down there. All right. And we've got two. I do kind of take heed to the idea that you need 3 pieces. My husband just walked through the door, so I'm going to finish up my video and go chatter with him. Just going to put this little piece right here, and then I'll be done. As always, I hope you continue to be creative. Thanks for joining me.